Welcome. Come on in, guys. Good to see everybody. And good to see your names, those of you that have your cameras off. Come on in. Welcome.
Good morning, John.
How are you, Jim?
Doing good. How you doing?
Doing really good. Really good.
Good.
Yep. Ready for some good news and some for a new year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on in, guys. Going in just a minute.
The good news might be on a different channel.
Morning. We'll get started in just a minute here. It looks like Kathy's smiling, so it's always good for us to see that. Come on in. Okay, well, it's right about 11. We can go ahead and get started. I'm John Lee with the St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association. And as always, we're very happy to have Kathy Davis here from Davis, Travellini and LLC. So, Kathy, welcome.
Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to take the next 2 weeks off for the holidays. So I made a list of things so that I would remember to cover everything that I wanted you to know, which the first thing I want you to know is that we don't know anything. What was that in Game of Thrones? You know nothing, Jon Snow. Yeah, we know nothing. The first point I wanted to make is I was on the call with the judges and the tenant lawyers and a couple other landlord lawyers earlier this week that I do once a month with St. Louis County. And one of the judges, Judge Hagee, who I really like, mentioned during the call, I wouldn't say he was advocating for the landlords, but he was definitely expressing the view that the landlords who appear in front of him, some of them are really struggling and, that kind of thing. But one of the things that he mentioned that I think is important for me to get out to you guys is that more and more of the tenants and tenant lawyers are asking for security level to be raised on their CaseNet cases. And this means that if you look for them on CaseNet and that they've successfully had the security level raised, you won't be able to see the case. This is how they are going to scam you again. They are going to get the security level raised on their eviction so that you can't see it, so that you don't know when you look on CaseNet that they're in the process of being evicted or they didn't pay $7,000 during COVID or, whatever. I'm not telling you to never rent to anybody who's been evicted before. Sometimes that might be fine. I'm not a screening expert per se, but I want you to know that although I would still look at CaseNet because it's quick and easy and free, I would be very aware that prior evictions might not be showing, and you might want to make sure that you or your screening company specifically checks with all prior landlords to find out if there was a prior case. And I will tell you one caveat on that. Sometimes to settle with a tenant, we agree to give neutral references. And in that case, the landlord might not be able to say, I evicted them or, that kind of thing. They'll just be able to say, confirm the time and the length of time they rented. So I think that we are seeing, a time when a lot of people are not paying, and when they all have to relocate, they're all going to try to take advantage of somebody new. So please add this to your screening playbook. Okay, the second thing is very, very quick. Once in a while, I mention what federal court is doing. That's interesting to me because it's federal court. We go there sometimes. Federal court has always had the capacity to let you appear by telephone. They didn't always do it, but for bankruptcy court hearings and that kind of thing, we're by telephone all the time now, and that actually works fine. But federal court has stayed all in-person trials until March 15th of next year. And Rod Sipple, who is my law school classmate and who is the presiding judge of our federal court here, early this year basically said he was suspending speedy trial because of COVID. None of us were really sure that he could do that, but he did it. And, that's, of course, the constitutional right to a speedy trial by a criminal defendant. It's interesting to know, where the different courts are with respect to when they're going to start trying things in person again. And it's interesting that the federal court is willing to do this because they are generally more willing to work through everything or more able to than the state courts are. Um,
Mm.
okay. I sent, some of you may have talked to the Business Journal reporter, and you all did a great job. I sent the article to John. Is that posted on your website, John, so people can read it?
I did send it on. I'm not sure if they posted it yet or not, but I think it's
Okay.
important for everybody to have it. I can send a copy to them too.
Yeah, if anybody wants a copy, John or I think could email it to you. But the Business Journal reporter had asked me to provide some landlords that he could talk to. You know, one of the things that we're fighting right now is the battle of public relations. Every time an eviction stay gets close to ending, the tenant advocates are out storming the airwaves and the media and everything. Oh, there's going to be this wave of evictions. It's horrible. COVID, all these poor people out on the street. Well, first of all, I don't really think that that's going to happen in that way. But secondly, it's easy to despise landlords, right? They just put it all on us, and we need to have our backs. We need to be responding. So that's why these Business Journals articles are so important to me. If you have other media contacts and you are able to talk with them, I would. But I love this article. The landlords did it all without my supervision. I was a little nervous, but they all talked directly to the reporter, Jacob Kern, and they made great points. They made all the points that I would have told them to make if I'd been sitting there with them writing notes. There was a landlord who talked about, the tenant owed money since before the pandemic. They owe $12,000. Utilities being shut off, so his property is going to be damaged. There was a landlord who talked about the tenant who said, "You can't evict me, so I'm just not going to pay."
Mhm.
No idea what the circumstances are, if she would qualify for assistance or anything. But and this landlord was told that she would vacate if he would forgive all the money that she owes, which is a good example of the kind of deals that people are being offered. Janice Kamensky, a great landlord who's a client of ours, was quoted saying the same argument that I make every month in these judge meetings, which is, why can't the sheriffs evict somebody when they can serve people? They're still serving people. They're coming to face with more people every day when they serve people. So why can't they do the evictions? There was someone who was quoted talking about how this has made money so tight for him. He has 14 units. This is his job. He takes care of the units, rents them out. This is how he pays his bills and feeds his family. Another landlord said, "It's my income and I rely on it just like anybody else would for a job. Put your mask on, gloves, face shield," he said of government workers. People are still doing things.
Mhm.
Now, everybody has their own needs about what they can and can't do. But, I think most of us are still trying to do our jobs. I'm going to the grocery store. I meet with clients sometimes. Sometimes we need to meet in person. That's hard. I had a hearing here where I had 4 witnesses here in the office and 2 lawyers. We didn't have masks on the whole time. We're all trying to, push forward because we want to pay our bills, right? We want to, keep all that going. So that article was great. People email me at kbd@kbdllc.com or email John or watch for the real estate website so that you can read that article. And if you have media contacts or if you just want to make media contacts, call David Nicholas at the Post-Dispatch or, write letters to the editor or call the news stations. Particularly if you've got a great story, a real egregious story where the tenant is living there and not paying and maybe working and, that kind of thing, and just not paying because they don't have to. One of the things that was really concerning to me about that article in the Business Journal was where they took quotes from Christine Bertelson, who's the spokesperson for the St. Louis County Courts. And, she said some things about not evicting people during a pandemic. That is policy making. And it has always been the deal in our 3 branches of government that the judicial branch, the court branch, does not make policy. It enforces the law.
Mhm.
So I was just talking to another judge today in a hearing that we were having, and we were chatting. And he's very much against this eviction stay in St. Louis County and told me that. And I said, I feel like the courts are making policy now and they're supposed to enforce the law. And he said, that's absolutely right. You know, they're not supposed to be doing this. And then we talked a little bit about our takings argument, which is my next thing, which is where we are we are working up a federal lawsuit, possibly a state court lawsuit, although I'd rather go to federal court, on getting compensation for landlords who were denied the ability to evict people. Because we all know that the government can, in some circumstances, take your property. They can widen the highway or, you know, whatever, but you get compensated. There's a whole legal process for that where you get your money. By not allowing you to put out the non-paying tenant, they are taking your property. They are depriving you of the use of that property during the time that you're not able to evict the person. So that's our next phase of the RIT work, is working on that. Okay, the phases of the counties. St. Louis County is still in phase 0, and we expect them to be there for a while. You may have heard, I think I may have said this last week, they had another sheriff die. She died of COVID, but she had leukemia, and she was not an outside deputy. She was an office worker. So I don't see really a correlation between that and not doing evictions. But of course, it's very sad that she passed away. And just as when we had the sheriff deputy die in the summer, that makes everybody in the courthouse, you know, nervous. Judge Burton views himself as being, you know, the supervisor or the boss of all these people, and that he doesn't want to put them at harm's way. You know, unfortunately, we're all at harm's way to an extent every day when we do our jobs or, you know, go about our lives. So it's going to have to stop. The city, we're getting a new presiding judge. I'm going to be reaching out to talk to him. We still have the partial stay there, but that expires at the end of December. So we'll see what they do. Jefferson County has gone back to in-person dockets, which I actually was a little nervous about Chris going down there this week. And I'm pretty sure they're still doing evictions. St. Charles is, some of the judges are actually adopting WebEx or Zoom, which is kind of exciting because they had refused to. But in the Associate Circuit Court, in the judge that we have, he's still allowing eviction hearings, and the sheriffs are still executing on those. Next year, your guess is as good as mine. I would suspect that the CDC eviction stay will be extended. I would expect that it's still going to be a while in the county. According to what I read in the paper, the new CARES Act bill that Congress is supposedly close to passing is going to have $25 billion for rental assistance. We have been advocating for this assistance to happen with landlords applying for it, because I think our big problem now is tenants who just won't apply for it and won't cooperate. There is one program that I think I sent you this information about it last week, through the state, where landlords can apply for rental assistance. I would urge you to look into that. Excuse me. And, you know, stay on top of those assistance programs, because that really might be the only way to get your money, at least for the next couple, 3 months. You know, who knows how long this is going to last. The vaccine news is great, but it's not going to be that speedy. And then another thing that I thought was interesting, I guess I'm just rushing through all this stuff. I will let you ask me questions, I promise. But I thought it was very interesting that the PSC refused to give a utility moratorium locally. So I think there again, to me, it could be my bias, but they'll protect the big publicly traded companies, but they won't protect us. You know, they won't tell the banks, yeah, you can't collect rent, you can't collect mortgage payments from any landlords while there's COVID. You know, they won't do that. So that's like my whole list. Who has questions or comments or anything? Anyone?
Morning, I have a comment and question.
Wait, Ann, I can't hear you.
Is that any better?
A little. Can you turn up your volume or get closer to the mic or something? Because you're very faint.
Okay. All right. I'll talk a little louder as well. So my primary home is in another state. So this is just a FYI, just for folks here. My other state, the governor has already extended the eviction moratorium through March already.
Yeah, I know that there are other states that are taking state action to do these eviction moratoriums. It seems unlikely that Governor Parson will do that because he's kind of been unwilling to do anything. But I guess it could happen, if it continues to get really bad. But what we're dealing with is, on the one front, the CDC moratorium, which is federal and all over the country. And then our other moratoriums have to do with courts, not governments. Sam Page, as the county government, has stopped restaurants from having indoor dining, but he has nothing to do with the evictions. Judge Burton, as presiding judge of the St. Louis County Circuit Court, has said the sheriffs can't execute on the evictions. So it's two different things, two different branches of government.
And my other question, or more of a question, is we were successful in getting our non-paying tenant out, through courts and through a judgment, and he did leave, but he owes $9,000. Is there any way through some of these funds that we can collect, or do we just have to probably write it off on our taxes?
Well, how did you get him out?
It went through court, and there was a judgment, and he agreed to leave, and he did leave.
So he left voluntarily.
Yeah, but he hasn't paid anything.
Okay. I was wondering if you'd gotten the sheriff to go out. I wanted to hear your secret. So here's the deal. I think those eviction relief funds are not going to apply to you because he's already gone. I think that those are only for people who are still in the residences to keep them from being evicted. If you know where he works and your judgment includes a judgment for money, you could garnish him at his employment. Other than that, yeah, I guess you're talking to your CPA about what you can write off. We do. I mean, Christine, my partner, garnishes people all the time. We're very successful about that. We get checks coming in the mail from the courts every day, but that doesn't mean that every judgment is collectible. A lot of people don't work. They work under the table. They're only on retirement, which isn't garnishable, disability. There's a lot of obstacles to that, but some of it definitely is collectible if you have somebody, who works.
Thank you, Kathy.
You are welcome, Ann. Anybody else got anything?
Kathy, this is David Ware. Did
David.
you see the District of Columbia decision that just came out where they ruled that the moratorium on evictions were unconstitutional?
No. In DC?
Yeah, the DC
Wow.
Civil Division. I can forward that to
Yes,
you.
I would love to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, one of my partners just sent that to me yesterday, and he got it from a friend of his who's in the DC bar.
I would love to see that. I very much appreciate it. This is all part of the research we're doing for the takings lawsuit and that kind of thing. We're not rushing to file something right now because, among other things, now's not a great time, but we're very interested in pursuing remedies on that. And we do think that all these moratoriums, whether it's federal, state, court, whatever, are going to continue to be extended for a while. So we don't think our fight is over. If I thought they were all going to expire at the end of the year, I wouldn't be worried, but I don't think that's going to happen. What else have we got, guys? From Camilla, what assistance is available for renters who can't come up with rent money in St. Charles? Oh, that's a good question. I haven't heard rental assistance funds being discussed with respect to St. Charles at all. In the city and the county, you can start by researching that funding by going on the respective county government websites. So I would start with the St. Charles County website. And also that state program may apply to St. Charles that I talked about a few minutes ago, that I sent the information to John. I think it's posted. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I'm leaning over my computer. Remember the day when we were just like passing my cell phone around to everybody and talking to you? We've gotten so much more sophisticated, right? Okay, the Missouri Emergency Rental Arrears Program overview. This is a Missouri Housing Development Commission. MHDC program. So I would start with their website. I am just looking at the information really quickly that I have. And it doesn't say it's limited to certain counties. So that might be something. And that's a landlord program where the landlord can apply.
Yes, Kathy.
Hi, Lloyd.
I have my rentals are in St. Charles County also. And I did go to the county website. They have some similar list of charities that are available that you can go through. And I think the 211 call service would make referrals also here in St. Charles for some
Yes, good
relief funds
point.
that are available.
211. It's like 911, only it's 211. It connects you to the United Way, and they disperse you out to the appropriate agency. Honestly, I was just thinking about this. We probably haven't heard anything in St. Charles because we've never been stopped in any way from evicting people out there. So we haven't looked for other resources. It might be a good thing if your tenant is just experiencing temporary difficulties to help them get the resources and keep them as a tenant. I don't know. That's where you guys are smart, not me.
Yeah, I don't know if it helped or not, but when I checked into that when I had a tenant that was starting to fall behind, and I referred them to that website. When I found it, I referred them to that website. I sent them a link to it, and 2 months later, they got caught up. So I'm not sure if one of the links helped or they got some other assistance. But it helped me anyway.
Well, that's great. I mean, anytime it's successful, I'm for it. If they're an otherwise good tenant and they just need help during this time,
Yeah.
And you can get this money, they can get the money. That's great. We had a big docket yesterday in St. Louis County, our last one of the year. And I spoke to a lot of people, everybody shows up on their phone or whatever, and the judge sends us into breakout rooms with them one at a time so that we can talk to them and see what we can work out with them. And a lot of them said they had applications for aid pending. Because of it being the end of the year and everything, I couldn't even get a trial setting until January 21st. So we were giving people generous amounts of time on a stay, to see if they could get caught up or get paid and everything. Not to mention the fact that we still can't get the sheriff to go out. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for my clients that some of those people are going to be able to get the money from these agencies. We're hoping that there's going to be a big push to pay out a lot of funds before the end of the year because the money is supposed to expire. So we're hoping that some of you who have, tenants who have applied will be seeing money. Okay, guys, who else has anything?
Yeah, Kathy, on the CaseNet, you said on the fraud, I was a little confused on that.
Okay, here's the thing about CaseNet. Let's say Kathy Davis is evicting Harry Lemay. You could go on CaseNet and run your name or run my name and find that case. However, they can raise the security level of the case. Now, they commonly do this with, juveniles and some divorces and things where there's, sensitive information. But a litigant can ask the court in any case to raise the security level. The Missouri Supreme Court does not like security levels to be raised because they think the records of court should be open, but they can do it. And the tenant lawyers and some of the tenants have figured out to ask the judge to raise the security level. And if they do that, that means if someone was searching to see if you were being sued by me or I was being sued by you, and the security level had been raised, they wouldn't find it. So if you're using CaseNet to figure out if your prospective tenant has been evicted elsewhere, it's more likely now that won't show up because the security level is being raised. I think some of the judges are very disturbed about this, and they're starting to be inclined not to raise it unless they have a very good reason. I had one recently where it was a lawyer on the other side I trusted, and her client, the tenant, had been the victim of bad domestic violence. And they didn't want the ex person to be able to find her through the CaseNet, showing up her address. I totally agreed with that. Yes, let's raise the security level. And that turned out to be one where the tenant got the aid, the check got delivered, everything was fine. So, no worries. But just be more cautious in your screening. If you're relying on CaseNet, rely on other means as well. Make sure you check back with those landlords too, in case that case has been hidden from public view.
Is there any way to know if a case is hidden, but it just doesn't display? Or is it just
No.
doesn't appear at all?
Just doesn't appear at all.
Now,
There's like,
when,
there's different levels. At some levels, like law enforcement can still see it, but the public can't. So be aware that CaseNet's not going to be maybe always accurate.
is that true for the screening companies too, where they won't see these evictions also if they get it, if this occurs?
Yes,
Okay,
but you can still talk to their prior landlords.
if, yeah.
Yeah.
If they're legit. Yeah.
Can I ask a question related to that?
Sure.
So you mentioned sometimes in the settlement, landlords will agree to a neutral reference. So if they agree to that, how from our end is a smart question to ask them to find out if a tenant didn't pay?
I would ask them, the screening companies have good questions to try to ferret those things out. I think there's a question they ask along the lines of, did the tenant meet all of its obligations under the lease?
Great. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. Anybody else got anything we can answer? So we're going to be
Kathy.
around. We're taking a couple of days off over the holidays, but we're around if you need anything, while I'm not seeing you guys for a couple of weeks.
Can you restate your email address, Kathy?
Yes. It's just like my initials, Catherine B. Davis. So it's kbd@kbdllc.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, Kathy.
Yes.
Two questions. I have 3 tenants who applied under 211 for about 3 months ago, it seems like. I haven't heard a thing from them. And then I wanted to know would you repeat the Missouri website again that helps the landlord?
Yes. I don't have the website per se, but it's the Missouri Housing Development Commission, MHDC. If you search under that, you should be able to find a link to this program because it's their program. It's the Missouri Emergency Rental Arrears Program. And the other question was, have you asked the tenants what agency they're working with? If you haven't heard anything, that's a bad sign because usually these agencies reach out to the landlords as well to, oh, thank you. Someone has posted that in the chat. Scott has posted that in the chat, the MHDC information. If the agency hasn't reached out to you to get confirmation of the rental arrears and everything, that's a bad sign. Either your tenants are not getting response from the agency, or maybe they didn't really apply, or they're not following up. We have heard a number of stories of, tenants who ghost the agencies. They start the application process and then they don't show up for appointments, or they don't provide information, or that kind of thing. There have been times when we've been able to jump into the process and help the agency get information that they need, but there is some tenant cooperation that's required. And if the tenant is just saying, yeah, they can't evict me, I'm just not going to do anything, that's a problem. That's where you want to use that MHDC program, which is a landlord started program.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Anybody else?
I guess he's,
somebody else has David Soto's posted a link. Great, thank you.
2 parts. So if I understand you correctly, Kathy, these agencies will always engage us. They'll never act between them and the tenant. They'll always loop the landlord in.
My understanding is at this point that all the programs involve paying the funds to the landlord.
Okay. And then the other thing is on that court thing. I read that last week. I didn't forward it to you because I figured you already knew that and I didn't want to inundate you with a bunch of information. So you're wanting us, when we see stuff like that, send it to you anyway?
Send me
Not
the
worry
link.
about you.
No,
Okay.
really, believe me. And I've got other people working on the writ matters with me. And sometimes if I don't have a chance to read it, I send it to them. And we're all reading and analyzing and trying to figure out what will be successful.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I forwarded to Diane in the group and I was sending some stuff to John, but I'm sure other people were sending them a lot of information. So I didn't want to inundate them and just say, hey, Harry, we appreciate this, but I don't need this. So, I don't want to do that, but I've been following it, and after a while, you read so much, all that stuff just starts coming to you.
Yeah,
And
that's the
as you
story
know,
of my life, Harry.
yeah,
That's what I do for a living.
yeah.
But this is, generally we stay in our own lane and we're in Missouri and we do Missouri stuff. But
Yeah.
these eviction stays and the moratoriums and the COVID and everything obviously are happening all over the country. So there's state and federal courts everywhere that are, making decisions. We're interested in all of them. Do we
Okay.
have time to read all of them? Maybe not, but we'd like the opportunity to take a look. I appreciate anybody getting me. Okay, somebody else said something in chat and I missed it. Wait. Does anyone know a good source? Home buyer assistance. Okay, I don't know anything about that. If anybody else wants to look in the chat and see if they can help Joe with that question. Sorry, outside my area. Anybody else got anything? Did I miss anyone? Are you all good?
Hey, Kathy, this is Dan Bryan. This is a little off topic, but the HOA associations, are you seeing them?
Oh,
Got notice where an HOA in Florissant is now imposing, first rental restrictions, which we're seeing, but this is from an HOA, and they want an HOA addendum with all leases, the restricting how many homes can be on the lease. They have the right to enforce the lease and are sold at absolute discretion. It says assignment of rents to the HOA.
yeah,
see-
you know what I have to say about HOA. Al Qaeda started as an HOA.
I mean, what if a owner just doesn't comply and just doesn't ask for the permission, had a rental there for 10 years and I guess they could
Yeah.
file suit, but-
We had one HOA, it was in South County, so probably not the same one. Our client was a management company that represented an owner that had rented down there for years. And the HOA had subsequently passed a, rental restriction thing and sent a letter telling the landlord owner that they had to get rid of the tenant. And I wrote back to them and said, no, it's grandfathered in, you can't do that, which might have been a bluff, but they backed off. So I guess it's difficult to answer one of those questions kind of globally, but that might be something where you want to take a look at it, make sure the restriction was passed properly, see if the landlord is grandfathered in, that kind of thing. I do recognize that there are some times when the renting isn't working out, but I feel like these HOAs are now, I think it's flipped to where they're harming their own property values and harming their resale ability by not allowing rental. I think investment owners can be good additions to those communities. And some of those places have a hard time selling their units.
Yeah, and this is predominantly a single family neighborhood. So this is not, and it's they get the right in their addendum to terminate the lease for any cause and without any if you agree to it, without any liability for the owner or for the tenant.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be signing that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'll send you a link. I'll send you the info on it just in case
Okay.
it comes across. So it's Wedgewood Green in Florissant. So
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Well, guys, we've had a great year in a crazy way, but it's been really nice to be doing these talks with you. Maybe after COVID ends, maybe we won't do them every week, but maybe we'll still do them monthly or something because we'd like to be able to touch base with everyone. I appreciate all of you who use us for your work and send us business, but even if you don't, we're happy to talk to you and answer your questions and help you if we can. And I really want you all to have great holidays in a safe way. My next chore is going to be to set up the Christmas Zoom for my mom. So we're all changing our habits a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But
thank you so much, Kathy. You're just wonderful. We appreciate everything you've done for us and you continue to do for us. And if anybody uses anybody else, I'm sorry they do. They should use you, period. So thank you so much.
thank you. There are other good
you.
lawyers, but we do think we're the
I
best.
know. We agree. Thank you.
We really
Thank
appreciate
Thank you, Kathy.
Happy New Year.